What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Friday. Glad to have everybody along. Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter at A to Z Sports.com, in today for Zach Bingham. Zach will be back next week. Had a little trip this weekend to get to. But we're going to have a great conversation because of what we have set up for the show today, and that is talking about the NFL draft and how the AFC South really kind of controls the entire draft in a way. I mean, the Chicago Bears, Sam's Chicago Bears, control a lot of it. But the AFC South and the landscape of this division will drastically change with what happens with the number one overall pick. And Jim Irsay has a lot of that power under his control, which is a very strange situation for the NFL to have Jim Irsay with that much control and power. So we'll discuss that. We'll play a video from Jim Irsay earlier this week introducing the Colts' new head coach. And that will get us going into this conversation and a mock draft that comes out that came out this past week that also shows how the AFC South can be changed with that number one overall draft pick. So we're going to have a great show today talking about these two quarterbacks. One word to describe your reaction if both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud land in the AFC South, and who is the better quarterback prospect between the two. On the screen there. We'll talk about that. And it is Friday, which means ain't that good news. So, Sam, let's get this thing rocking and rolling here on a Friday.
Yep, let's get it going. But before we start today's show, make sure everybody out there is sharing the show for us here on a beautiful Good News Friday. A lot of conversation. We're getting this offseason started. Officially mock draft season, as we will learn this morning. But go ahead and give us a share. If that's Facebook, hitting the share button. If that's YouTube, copy the link, send it to a friend. If that's a retweet on Twitter at A to Z Sports, however it is that you found us this morning, however it is you consume the show, make sure you are spreading the love and getting a friend involved on the conversation. That's the best way to support.
It definitely is. Let's get it going officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is our Titans reporter, Sam Phelan, in today for Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show all over our Twitter timeline segment by segment. Also hit us up on Instagram and TikTok, where Sam in particular has been giving us a lot more great Titans content throughout this offseason. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us. And they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, better coverage, rates, and service. Learn more about a health plan for you. FBHP.com/ATOZ. And Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman for a free case consultation, 800-800-4600. All right, it's Friday, and I'm happy it's Friday. This has been a crazy week, a long week, I think, for a lot of, Super Bowl reaction. Super Bowl feels like it was 2 weeks ago at this point. But, Sam, we are turning the page into the NFL draft type of conversation. NFL Combine starts later in February, and your Chicago Bears, as a Chicagoland native, have the number one overall draft pick, and then also have Justin Fields at quarterback. So number one overall pick is up for grabs and for sale, we think, and the Bears hold a lot of power in the draft. We know the Texans are second because they beat the Colts in week 18, giving up that first overall pick, and now the Colts are at 4 behind the Arizona Cardinals. So there's going to be some movement atop this draft. We just don't know who and when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting situation because all signs really do point to the Bears trading down from the number one overall pick. I know there's been rumors about Justin Fields being on the move and them taking the pick. I would be floored if that happened. I think that's more of a smokescreen than anything. But interesting that even the Texans, who are the highest picking team of the teams that need a quarterback this offseason, aren't secure sitting at number 2, because what if a division rival goes and gets your guy before you at number 1? So it's very, very volatile here at the top of the draft, trying to figure out where these quarterbacks are going to end up when you consider Houston, Indianapolis, Tennessee, Las Vegas, Carolina, Atlanta. Like, these are teams that are going to be in the market for a QB, and seeing who is the team that's the most desperate to make that move for number one and have their pick of the litter. That's really what the Bears are banking on, and what the NFL world is kind of holding their breath, waiting to see as the draft gets closer.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously we know that the Colts just hired their new head coach, Steichen, the offensive coordinator from the Philadelphia Eagles, and how that will change what the Colts want and what the Colts want to do, because we know the Colts, ever since the abrupt retirement of Andrew Luck back in August of 2019, I believe it was, the Colts have gone with Jacoby Brissett because of the emergency retirement there. Then they tried their hand at Phillip Rivers for a year, traded a lot for Carson Wentz. That failed epically. Then traded a lot for Matt Ryan, which failed even more epically than the Carson Wentz move did. And so now Jim Irsay sitting at a podium or a table for introducing his new head coach, Shane Steichen, on his right, and GM Chris Ballard on his left, in these comments we're about to play from the Colts owner.
What we learned in the end was that we just felt that Shane had a lot of that offensive magic, which is hard to find in this league. It's offense, in my mind, can be a little more complex and takes a longer time to develop. Knowing that we're going to have to find a young quarterback to develop, that's a key factor, but shy away from the fact what quarterback means in this league and how we have to look going forward, where Shane and Chris really, dig into this draft and really see where you're at. Do you stay put? Do you trade up? There's many things you can do. They took Jalen in the second round, so
trade back.
Yeah, trade back. So he likes picks.
That'll be a Twitter freaking quote.
He likes picks. Although the Alabama guy doesn't look bad, I tell you. But
there's a lot, Sam, in that clip from Jim Irsay.
Well,
and I'll let you kind of dissect it step by step.
My thought is just poor Chris Ballard, because this guy's trying to do a job as a general manager, and half of being a general manager this time of year is those smoke screens of hey, we're not set on moving up to go get a quarterback. We're fine back where we are. We're not going to pay that premium price because we're good at number 4. You need teams to believe you're fine, the same way the Bears might be trying to make teams believe they are thinking about moving Justin Fields and using the pick for themselves, the same way that the Bears are going to have to try and convince the Texans that the Colts are paying a premium and the Colts that somebody else is paying a premium for that top pick. And Jim Irsay is just spilling the beans. He's just letting the cat out of the bag. First opportunity he gets, you put him in front of a microphone and you say, hey, Jim, thoughts on your head coach? And he's like, well, we're going to go get a quarterback. And I tell you, that kid from Alabama looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, Jim? Bryce Young is not going to be there at number 4. So what does that tell everybody else about what you're kind of pushing to your general manager? You're saying, hey, let's go get number 1. Let's go get the kid from Alabama. Oh, just wow. Jim Irsay can't help himself. And the more he talks, it's more of he just keeps hurting himself, one of those people. And I'm just, notice how Chris Ballard's head whips around.
Yes.
And looks right at him as soon as
yes.
What the heck, dude? You're blowing up my spot.
Yeah, I want to play it again. And I did see this from Tom. I'm not going to share it because Tom alleges more substance abuse from Jim Irsay, but he says he hopes that Irsay keeps Jerry jonesing Indianapolis in this situation. But here's the video again from Jim Irsay. Watch the Chris Ballard head whip as soon as Irsay says the words young quarterback.
What we learned in the end was that we just felt that Shane had a lot of that offensive magic, which is hard to find in this league. It's offense, in my mind, can be a little more complex and takes a longer time to develop. Knowing that we're going to have to find a young quarterback to develop, that's a key factor. But
knowing that we're going to have to find a young quarterback to develop, Chris Ballard's playing with his the cuticles on his fingers, and then he's just what? what? Hold on a second. That's not what we talked about in the briefing before this press conference of saying young quarterback. And then he just dropped the Alabama guy later on in that presser.
I think too, I watched like the full press conference. What makes it even funnier, I think one of those answers to the questions was a question directed at Ballard, and Irsay kind of was like, well, I think we can both answer, and like stepped in and asserted himself to like be like, well, I'm also able to answer that question. And here's why we're going to go trade for a young quarterback. So yeah, the hilarious cycle, but also very interesting, Austin, because this draft drama that I guess exists in the NFL regarding these quarterbacks. If you're the Titans now, if you are any AFC South team right now, you get this feeling that this specific draft cycle is going to shake the way things are forever. Because when you start talking about Trevor Lawrence being one of the top young QBs in the league, was a number 1 overall pick, now potentially adding another first overall or second overall pick to the division, where does that leave a team in this hypothetical, potentially the Titans, that doesn't have one of those? And is that a major concern? And this is more than just the Jim Irsay comments, because this has started to carry itself over into many of the mock drafts that experts are beginning to put out.
Yeah, it has. And so there was a mock draft from a prominent mock drafter that, made some moves here that shows us what this could look like. So we'll get to that here momentarily and show what a mock draft, and Big Ten Jeff, who is a Colts fan and Ohio State fan, which is an interesting proposition for him to be in, if it's CJ Stroud in Indianapolis or not. But Big Ten Jeff says that this is a smokescreen from Jim Irsay talking about Alabama, the Bryce Young guy, and trading up for a new quarterback. Is it? I don't know, but we'll get to this mock draft here in a second. But first, let me tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you need to know who to go to and how to get back to healthy. When you get banged up, life sucks sometimes and life is hard, and you get injuries from all different types of ways. And you need to know where to go to get back to health. And the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, they've got you covered. Over 12 specialists, physicians there at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin to make sure you get back. Also, the state-of-the-art facility when it comes to physical therapy and surgery centers as well. So check them out all under one roof. That's important too. boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code ATOZ Sports and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. You register with BetMGM, you'll get an instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, daily boost odds, and with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up, that code ATOZ Sports, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet.
Absolutely. BetMGM, man. Sam, I almost hit a nice little parlay last night, but I had
we'll get into BetMGM in our Good News Friday. Tease
really?
there.
Well, that's great for you. I didn't, because Bradley Beal went off, and I just needed Minnesota to hang on to a 20-point lead in the second half to hit my parlay, and Bradley Beal and the Wizards did not allow that to happen, which is just really just grinding my gears this morning. But anyway, so we just heard from Jim Irsay talking about needing to go get a young quarterback for the offensive magician in Shane Steichen, and then saying that Alabama guy looks pretty good. Well, Sam, Todd McShay's mock draft from this week at ESPN gave us all just this exercise. So this is Todd McShay's mock draft from Wednesday, I believe, is when this came out, showing the Colts moving up from number 4 to number 1 to get Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, and then the Texans at number 2 taking CJ Stroud from Ohio State. Outside linebacker out of Alabama, Will Anderson, who might be considered the best overall prospect in this year's draft, going 3 to Arizona with their defensive-minded head coach, was a different conversation. And then the Chicago Bears, Sam, I think you're probably pretty happy with this, is going back to number 4 and getting arguably maybe 1B to Will Anderson, Jalen Carter out of Georgia. So, Sam, you're just an initial takeaway from what Todd McShay did after we've heard Jim Irsay talking about that Alabama guy looks pretty good to move up at number 1 and go get him. What are you thinking there?
Well, I think good. For starters, I think you're right. I think I'm happy with that. I think Chicago is happy with that. The ideal scenario for Bears fans and the Bears out there, I think if you asked anybody, including Bears players that have spoken about the potential draft, they want one of these top defenders, but they would also love a couple extra draft picks. So, if you move to number 4 and you're able to grab one of Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, you have to be happy with that. So I think that's an ideal scenario from the Bears front. And I think right now, for me, this is most likely. Like, I think if you're asking me to pick who's going to get number 1, is somebody going to get number 1? My money would be on Jim Irsay and the Indianapolis Colts. I know Big Ten Jeff was saying he thought it was a smokescreen. I don't think so. I think this is Jim Irsay being Jim Irsay and just being himself and maybe saying a little bit too much. The reason I say that too, if it is the smokescreen, it's the wrong smokescreen, because Jim Irsay should be pretending that they're fine at number 4. He should be pretending that they're fine with Will Levis. He should be fine. Like that would be the smokescreen you play out into the public eye, because you want to give the Bears as little leverage as possible in a negotiation. So unless he's doing a smokescreen to sit back and draft Will Levis at number 4, which makes no sense to me because he can do that anyway.
Unless, who is the smokescreen for?
I mean, the Titans, the Texans.
That's right. So, and I just kind of thought about this. Sometimes things click mid-show, but we all think that Jim Irsay saying, trading up to number 1, that Alabama guy to go get us a young quarterback for Shane Steichen who can do some offensive magic. All that sounds great and all for the Chicago. And you're thinking, man, the Bears just know the Colts want to do this. But who else is listening to that interview? It's the Houston Texans.
I know that.
So, what if now the Texans are hearing Jim Irsay saying, well, that Alabama guy looks pretty good too. We don't know how, and we're going to get to this a little later for us, in our opinions. We don't know how the Texans, the Colts, the Raiders, the Panthers, or any of these teams, the Titans are included in that, how they view Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson for conversation's sake. We have no idea how we think they view them. And so if the Texans hold Bryce Young as QB1 and they hear Jim Irsay saying, we might jump up from 4 to 1, now the Texans might say, hey, we should just jump up 1 spot to make sure that we completely avoid any of that nonsense and that the Texans can get their guy. And now, Sam, you as a Chicago Bear guy, you got to be licking your chops. If you're the Bears, the best case scenario is to slide back to 2 with the Texans and then see if you can get somebody else to come bite and slide back from 2 to 4 or 2 to wherever and to double trade this thing.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an absolute masterclass by Ryan Poles and the Bears if they can pull that off. But here's the thing with Irsay for me, and you know this as well as I do, Austin. Jim Irsay, more than anything else, hates losing, and he hates losing to the AFC South. You know how much it was eating alive at him that his Indianapolis Colts continually lost to the Titans. And every time that game comes up and he's like, well, this is a big one, we can beat them this time, and they lose, that is what I think keeps him going. And whether that's Houston, whether that's Tennessee, whether that's Jacksonville, he's a competitive guy. And I see Jim Irsay as not trying to convince the Titans to go up to number 1 or convince the Texans to go up to number 1 so that they can pick in front of him. If he wants his quarterback, he wants your guy. He wants his guy. He wants the pick of the litter, and he wants to upset everybody else when he's doing it and beat, in his brain, the Titans and the Texans for that number 1 spot. That is how I perceive Jim Irsay, and maybe he's big braining me and a lot of other people in doing this.
I think Jim Irsay thinks he's big braining other people.
But I watched that clip. I watched Chris Ballard's reaction. I And it feels like a guy who's tipping his hand a little bit early, which may not end up mattering, right? Like if Bryce Young is the franchise changing quarterback and you go get him at number 1, like Todd McShay predicted, who cares what you give up, right? And at the end of the day, like that's the reality of the situation. But for now, it takes a lot of leverage out of the Colts' hands, in my opinion.
Yeah, unless, Nate's burner says that he can't see the Texans jumping. I think if I'm the Texans, I would jump. Like, don't let that.
I would not. That's my. Yeah, I would not.
You would not jump if you're the Texans.
No, because I think it's really complicated to jump if you're the Texans. Number one, you have to believe that the Bears are moving out of the pick, which is, a reasonable thing to assume.
Yeah.
You also have to believe that who's going to number 1 values the same quarterback as you do. And you have to be willing to move on as much because the Bears are going to take whoever gives them the most. Like, essentially, especially if it's number 4 to number 2.
The Bears don't have to accept the Texans trade proposal. That's
right.
Correct,
So the Bears have to take whoever's giving them the most, unless you're not willing to give up. And we went over this before the show, Austin. The projected return to Chicago by Todd McShay for Indianapolis to go from 4 to 1 was number 4, number 35, which is their second round pick this year, a 5th rounder, and next year's first.
Yeah.
So 2 1s, a 2, and a 5 was the price to move up 3 spots to number 1. I think that's a pretty fair compensation in return. Houston's not giving more than that to the Bears to go up 1 spot. So it's a very complicated thing because not only do you have to believe they're coming out of the pick, you have to believe that the team going to number 1 is taking your guy, and you have to have a guy that you value, significantly above the rest of the field. Those are a lot of contingencies for Houston, where if you believe you can get your guy at 2, you're like, all right, Bears, go ahead, take Will Anderson number 1, and we'll take our quarterback.
Yeah, I just don't. We all know it's a quarterback league. We all know what this is about. And you see the teams that have their quarterbacks, do what you got to do to get them. The Chiefs traded 17 spots up to go get Patrick Mahomes, and it was worth everything they gave up and more. And so why sit there at 2 and risk the chance of missing on your guy just because you want to play a game?
Listen, we're talking about the Bears and my Bears. This is exactly what the Bears did in 2017. They moved up from number 3 to number 2, trading with the San Francisco 49ers to take Mitchell Trubisky, knowing good and well the Niners were not taking a quarterback, but the Niners tricked the Bears into believing somebody else was coming to get Mitchell Trubisky. And there was no point in doing it.
But I think that's the Mitch Trubisky. That was a weird quarterback draft, and I think the Titans. That was the same year they took Corey Davis at 5. It was a really weird draft because Mitch Trubisky was considered the best quarterback prospect, but Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes went 12 and 10 respectively in that, and so it was a little strange and so I think this was different because Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are thought of highly enough to be considered, top 4 picks. And so I think there's a little bit of a difference there. And real quick before we move on, Jamie Edwards says the Titans drafted Corey Davis over Patrick Mahomes. Pause. 30-second timeout, please. Jamie, that's stupid. Jamie, you can't look at things that way because Marcus Mariota was coming off of his second season where you spent a second overall pick on Marcus Mariota, and he got you to 9-7 before he broke his leg. So at that point in time, in reality, for the 2017 draft, why would you draft a quarterback when you felt pretty good about the second overall pick quarterback at that time that you drafted? So you can't go back and look back and say, oh yeah, they drafted Corey Davis over Patrick Mahomes. Because Patrick Mahomes was not considered a sure thing whatsoever in that draft. So Jamie, don't think that way. End of timeout. Sorry. I just had to do that.
Hey, I respect it. 30-second timeout.
Yeah, I probably went over, but that's okay. All right. So let's ask this question to everybody because we've gotten into all this conversation about Todd McShay's mock and Jim Irsay's comments. What's one word to describe your reaction if both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud land in the AFC South? Because this is what Todd McShay mocked this week. The Colts getting Bryce Young at 1, the Texans getting CJ Stroud at 2. So the question again, what is one word to describe your reaction if both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud land in the AFC South? We're going to get to your comments about this one word here in a second, but I'm going to tell you guys all about Farm Bureau Health Plans. Farm Bureau Health Plans, they've been serving Tennesseans for now over 75 years, and they do a fantastic job of that. Zach has talked about this nearly every day because he's saved 20% on his health coverage over the past year plus because of switching to Farm Bureau Health Plans. It's a great opportunity to do that. Maybe you are getting ready to turn 26 years old. And that's an important date because that means you can no longer be on your parents' health plan and you need something of your own. Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you make that transition. Maybe you got a 25-year-old son or daughter that you need to kick off that plan and you need to make sure that they can get coverage that you can trust as a parent. Farm Bureau Health Plans got you right there. Over 200 plus locations across the entire state of Tennessee to make it easy on you. You can walk into one of those locations. You can call them, or you can go to the website, fbhp.com/ATOZ. That's fbhp.com/ATOZ for Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, and BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Find out why when you enjoy all your favorite sports like never before, why signing up with the code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app and BetMGM.com. You can receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, daily boosted odds specials, and much more. With BetMGM at your fingertips, every play, every game means that much more. Sign up with that code, ATOZ Sports, on the BetMGM app. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if that first bet doesn't hit. With BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks.
Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification, eligibility requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued at knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So Sam, the question we're asking: what's one word to describe how your reaction to both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud landing in the AFC South? Again, here's Todd McShay's mock draft from this week. The Colts moving up from 4, giving up 2 first-round picks total, a high second-round pick, this year's 35th overall pick, and a 5th-round pick from this draft as well to get Bryce Young at 1, leaving the Texans right there at number 2 to get CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. Sam, I'll send you to the chat. I saw a lot of one words fly in here. What's one word to describe your reaction of both these guys falling and landing in the AFC South? I'll send you to the chat.
Mr. Jones with a fraud. Steven says panic. Bama bread. Meh. Jason Martinez says doubtful. Matt says good. He doesn't like either quarterback. Good. He's happy with that. Sucks from DAF3704. Trouble from Chris Dillard. This is Big Jeff, Big Ten Jeff cheating here with youth movement hyphenated. I don't know how
that hyphen youth movement.
I don't. Big thumbs down. That's a violation of the rules for Big Ten Jeff. Expected from Roberto. Capitalized from Nav. Tank from William. Let's see. Buried from Tighten Up. Expected from Danny. Tiffany says whelp. Wow from Guy. Losing from Gator. Indifferent by Eric. Roy says defense. I'm sure that's probably what the Titans will be saying too. Defense. Unbothered for Jason. Screwed, says Drew. Trouble, says Rooney. Hilarious, says Gene. We got Hooker. Sky Hicks wanting Hendon Hooker. Who says no to Hendon Hooker being a Tennessee Titan, maybe? Austin, what is your one word? You do? You say
I
no
say
to
no
that?
to Hendon Hooker because you're going to have to spend like a mid-round draft pick on Hendon Hooker, who
And he's
has an
not gonna
ACL
play.
tear. If you didn't draft Malik Willis in the third round last year, then okay, sure, Hendon Hooker in the third or whatever, that makes complete sense to me. But you can't do that 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
That's wasting opportunities to fill, a spot on this roster that needs filling. So my one word, Sam, and I feel like I can hyphenate this: coin flip.
Yeah, I think that is hyphenated,
Is
isn't it?
it? Maybe. AP style might have it coin flip hyphen, maybe not. I don't
I
know.
think so. I don't know.
Coin flip. Because one guy might work, one guy probably isn't going to work. And so I think it's a coin flip of who of these two emerges to be legitimate in the NFL, and then which of these two fails and puts the same team in the same type of spot 4 years down the road or 3 years down the road. I think it's a coin flip. That would be my reaction. And I feel like Bryce Young, I think, is way more talented. I think Bryce Young is a good player, but again, can he hold up? Because he got banged up at Alabama. He weighs 100 and he's listed at 195, which is not big at all for a quarterback, and would be the lightest quarterback drafted in the first round in a long, long time, because you've got to have some thickness with 2 C's to stand in that pocket and play quarterback. Even, Russell Wilson was drafted at 5'9" or 10 or however tall he is, weighed 205. You got to have that extra bulk to stand in there. And Bryce Young, he's just such a small person. He's really good, but he's really small. And so, he's not a guarantee. And CJ Stroud, I don't think is a guarantee either. And so that's where I say coin flip.
Yeah. Here's my word. I have 2 of them down for starters. I'll go with my first one first, which this is the initial reaction I had. Excluded is my number 1 word. And I liked some of the ones that were said, like desperate, desperation, panic. Because if CJ Stroud and Bryce Young both end up in the AFC South, joining Trevor Lawrence as the quarterbacks for the Jaguars, Texans, and Colts, however that combination goes between Stroud and Young, and the Titans sit back at 11 and take an offensive lineman, and then are left next season playing Ryan Tannehill or not making a move in free agency to go get a quarterback, you're being left behind. Like, you're being excluded from what today's NFL is and from the rest of your division. And I do think it's time to panic about letting all these star quarterbacks mosey on into your division while you don't seem incredibly motivated to adapt to a quarterback first league that the NFL is today. So, like, I think that this is huge if the Bears end up moving this pick to Indianapolis, to know that if these guys do work out, you're going to end up looking at the, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen type of quarterbacks. I'm not going to say Patrick Mahomes because nobody's in the Patrick Mahomes tier, but you're looking at another wave of young, talented quarterbacks entering the AFC, and 3 of them being in your division. And so, like, that's a really, really bad spot to be in. And I think the Titans have to hope. If I'm a Titans fan, I'm sitting back praying that the Raiders or the Panthers go get number 1, or that the Bears do take Bryce Young and trade Justin Fields to the Falcons or something like that, because you can't allow to keep letting these quarterbacks hit your division, because if they do hit, you're in trouble for a very, very long time. My second word is Williams, because if you are watching Bryce Young, if you're watching Drake May, if you're watching Trevor Lawrence sit in your division, you might as well tank and go get one yourself. And Caleb Williams is better than maybe all 3 of those guys, in my opinion, and in the opinions of a lot of front offices out there. Him and Drake May are the generational quarterback class that teams are going to move heaven and earth to go get. And if you're not willing to do that, what are we doing? Because you have to go get one eventually. So, like, I saw Teron Davenport did say something actually on I believe he was on with Jared Stillman on 102.5 talking about how if it was him, he would assemble more draft picks, maybe trade down and just get ready to give up everything next year to go get your guy. But you have to go get a guy, and you're either desperate, left behind and excluded, or you're getting Caleb Williams or Drake May next year. And the Titans have to, it's one of the two. This is a bad spot to be in.
Yeah, it's a bad spot to be in, but I also don't think it's absolute panic. I think that's why I've kind of went with the coin flip type of thing, because odds are one will work out nicely and one won't. I also found this interesting, and I was thinking about this, Sam, earlier in the week. I think it was Wednesday night. I was doing something and I had this pop into my mind. You know the last Heisman Trophy winner to win a Super Bowl?
Is it a quarterback?
No, I mean, honestly,
is it a quarterback? I'm trying to think.
Honestly, I don't know the answer. Like, I think that's the hard thing is you have to. I honestly don't know the answer. I think I actually know the answer. The last Heisman Trophy winner to win a Super Bowl.
Can I have another minute or something to
I mean, I can. I can go back. I mean, do you want me to list the recent?
Well, I know. I mean, is it Peyton Manning? Peyton
Manning didn't win the Heisman Trophy.
See, yeah. I didn't pay attention to college football when Peyton Manning was. I wasn't exactly around to be a big college football guy back when he was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna list Heisman Trophy winners. So Caleb Williams just won it. You like Caleb Williams? Bryce Young won it the year before, and so we're talking about this because of Bryce Young. And then so you look at the one before that, Devonta Smith. He got really close this year to winning a Super Bowl, but it didn't happen. Then before that, Joe Burrow, also really damn close, but didn't happen. Kyler Murray, hell no. Baker Mayfield, hell no. Lamar Jackson, nope. Derrick Henry, nope. Marcus Mariota, nope. Jameis Winston, Johnny Manziel, RG3, Cam Newton was in one, didn't. Mark Ingram, nope. Sam Bradford, no. Tim Tebow, Troy Smith, Matt Leinart, Jason White, Carson Palmer, Eric Crouch, Chris Winkie, Ron Dane, Ricky Williams, no. Did Charles Woodson win a Heisman Trophy?
Yes. That's why I said, is it a quarterback? That was my first instinct, Charles Woodson, because I think he won one with Green Bay.
Yes, Charles Woodson. 1997. Charles Woodson won a Super Bowl in his 13th season with the Green Bay Packers. I think he was playing safety at that point.
That's a coincidence. It has to be a coincidence, but
that's a lot, Sam. I mean,
okay? What do you think that means?
Is this a coincidence?
Well, no, but what do you think? But that's more about how NFL's value running backs today.
But right? That's a lot, Sam. 1997. Where were you in 1997, Sam?
No, I was not on this earth in 1997.
Exactly. That's a long time.
I understand that. I'm just asking you what, if you think that that's not a coincidence, what does it mean? Because
I think I just think that
I'll tell you, I mean, maybe this is what it means more than anything else. The guy that wins the Heisman Trophy usually isn't the best pro prospect.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow is the Heisman's only hope at this point to do something, because Derrick Henry's not going to win a Super Bowl unless he finds a different team in a couple of years and is a role player on one. That's not going to happen. Marcus Mariota is not going to do it. It's just, that's kind of where they're at. Is that, I mean, Lamar might have a chance to, but do we really think that?
I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to circumstance. The
Sam,
situation that you're
how
in.
many circumstances in a row are we talking about?
Well, but that's what we're talking. Tim Tebow won a Heisman Trophy. Johnny Manziel won a Heisman Trophy. Neither of those guys were good pros. But I think if you looked at,
Baker Mayfield, Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick.
Is a fine pro.
Kyler Murray, Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick. It's not going very well. Those are recent, new age NFL Heisman Trophy winners that are finding themselves in an uncertain situation in the NFL in their mid-20s. And it's just a strange thing. And the only reason why I bring this up is because I use the word coin flip, because either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is not going to work out. And it tells me that Bryce Young as a Heisman Trophy winner, the odds are he not going to win a Super Bowl. Now, the Texans can still be a big deal and a threat to the Titans without winning a Super Bowl. But, I guess that just goes into my thought overall is we truly don't know. Just because Bryce Young was a beast in college at Alabama doesn't mean a damn thing about what he can be in the NFL.
And I mean, it's not to say Bryce Young is a complete bust, but it's, is he Jared Goff, right? Like, who is a very highly thought of first overall pick quarterback, who is a franchise quarterback, like he's a starter, but he's not a difference maker. Like, he's not a superstar quarterback that you're like, well, they have a leg up because they have Jared Goff. Like, so yeah, to your point, you don't know. And you don't know if either one of these guys is going to take that step to that superstar level. I think we both feel pretty confident Trevor Lawrence will. But I just think it's a dangerous game to play. Because we talk over and over and over again. It's a quarterback league who you either have one or you don't. The teams that have one have a chance. The teams that don't probably don't. And this is a better opportunity to draft a quarterback than the Titans will have in recent years or in future years. So adding these guys, to me, is a major concern for the one team in the AFC South that is left out. You don't want to be the only team in your division without a quarterback. I don't care if you have Derrick Henry. I don't care if you have Mike Vrabel. I don't care if you have a great defense. If you don't have a quarterback and you're playing in a division with three of them that are good, you're in trouble and you're not going to win too many games.
Yeah. And another thing to add here, because you guys have brought it up, Reggie Bush won a Super Bowl with the Saints, but that Super Bowl win is like the only award that Reggie Bush hasn't had vacated, because he's had his Heisman Trophy vacated. He's had his BCS National Championship vacated, his Doak Walker and Walter Camp awards vacated as well. So, Reggie Bush,
there you go.
Allegedly, at one point won the Heisman Trophy in 2005. Then it was vacated and did win a Super Bowl with the Saints. So the answer is either Reggie Bush or Charles Woodson, whichever record.
Is Mark Ingram won a Super Bowl?
No, I checked because I had that same thought.
Okay.
No Mark Ingram. Close, but
there you have it.
Yeah. Well, so Reggie Bush or Charles Woodson. But again, like the point stands. It's that Bryce Young's not a guarantee. CJ Stroud's not a guarantee. And so you never know if the Colts move up and give up 2 firsts, a 35th overall pick to go get Bryce Young, and he can't hold up. Then what does that do for the Colts? That puts them in a really bad spot, because now they're back 2 first round draft picks and a 35th overall pick, who they've gotten a guy like Michael Pittman before in those 30 range, who's a legitimate player. And so, it could
there's no doubt it's a risk to move up to go get any quarterback. It's just when you talk and most people would agree, maybe there's a couple people with Will Levis up there or people that feel really highly about Anthony Richardson, but Trevor Lawrence was the slam dunk number 1 quarterback coming out of his draft. This year, not as much of a slam dunk, but the consensus top 2 are CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. And I think you would agree with the fact, that being the Titans in a division that has 3 young, very highly thought of draft prospect quarterbacks, not having one of your own and not really having a path to one in the near future is a concerning place to be in for a franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that, because 50% of the time you win the coin flip, and that could go in a tough spot for the Titans overall. A to Z Sports here live on this Friday. Sam, I want to ask you this question. Who do you think is the better quarterback prospect between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud? We'll ask you guys the same thing. Who is the better quarterback prospect between these two, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud? But tell everybody about Hughes and Coleman.
Yep, we got to talk about Hughes and Coleman, injury lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, you need to call Hughes and Coleman for your free case consultation. Their phone number, as easy as it gets, that's 800-800-4600. They have those resources to go and fight the big insurance companies for you, to get you every dollar you deserve if you've been injured in a car wreck. Hughes and Coleman has recovered over $1 billion for their clients in Tennessee and Kentucky over the last 30 years. So go and get that free case consultation. Call them 800-800-4600 for Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, Principal Office, Nashville, Tennessee.
With BetMGM, you can win big, and Sam says his good news might be something to do with the BetMGM app, but mine is not this week. Last night, I came up just short when it came to the BetMGM app to win, but you can also win big in different ways, because every time you make a wager, Sam, with BetMGM, you earn rewards points, and those rewards points can be turned into bonus bets. They can be turned into insurance tokens, or you can plan that next trip to Vegas and turn those into rewards at the BetMGM resorts. How about that? So you can, every wager you put in the BetMGM app, you can get something out of. So yeah, check out how many rewards points do you have. I need to check that out too. So check that out with the BetMGM app and build those rewards for your BetMGM wagering purposes or that next trip to Vegas with the MGM resorts with your BetMGM app. So Sam, the question to ask you, which quarterback do you think is the better prospect in this draft, Bryce Young or Stroud? Here's once again Todd McShay's latest mock to having Bryce Young going 1 to the Colts via trade and CJ Stroud 2 to the Texans. How do you feel about these two guys before we go to the chat?
I've been pretty vocal about this. Do you want me to give you my preference right now?
Yeah, hit me with it. Yeah.
I prefer CJ Stroud.
Okay.
And I feel pretty strongly about it. The size of Bryce Young concerns me. Like it does. And he was excellent at Alabama. He was a phenomenal college quarterback. But when you look at, like, they're lying about his size. They're lying about us. What is he, 6 foot, 6'1"? No. I almost threw a photo on here because I've been going through the photos. I'm a keep the receipts type of guy. He's standing next to Kyler Murray in a commercial for State Farm. He's shorter and frailer than Kyler Murray, who everybody had size concerns about. He's about an inch or two taller than Nick Saban, who's listed on the Alabama website as a 5'6".
Nick Saban has his height on the Alabama website.
Well, I don't know if it was the Alabama. It was out there. I googled Nick Saban height, 5'6".
He's taller than 5'6".
After
Nick
he
Saban
played,
is taller than 5'6".
No, he's not. I don't know. You really think Nick Saban?
When's the last time you stood next to Nick Saban?
I haven't, but Nick Saban also has small guy energy. So
he's not tall. Nick Saban's
giving
not
off short king energy. Nick
he's
Saban
probably 5'8". I mean, but he's also 70 years old, so he might have lost a couple inches.
I mean, what have we talked about with Stetson Bennett at length? His size and his age separate deal, but he's small. And when you look at the photo of Bryce Young shaking hands with Stetson Bennett has an inch or two on him and is looking down on Bryce Young after they're shaking hands post-game. So, like, I think he is smaller than he's listed as, and that concerns me for a guy. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, reminds me of the quarterback in today's league that thrives. He reminds me of the Trevor Lawrence, the Jalen Hurts, the Justin Fields, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allen in his body type, in his big arm. He can run if he needs to, but he's comfortable staying in the pocket. He's got good size, good speed, good toughness, a lot of weight to him. That's the quarterback that I think is the guy out of this class is CJ Stroud. I watched what he did, and I'm be honest, I wasn't even sold on him. And then I watched what he did to that Georgia defense in the college football semifinal. And I think that was CJ Stroud reminding everybody that just because Ohio State had a down year doesn't mean that I'm not an excellent pro prospect.
Ohio State didn't have a down year. I mean,
down year in the fact that they didn't make the college football playoff. That's a down year for Ohio State. You lose to Michigan pretty badly. That's a down year for Ohio State by their standards.
But they almost made the national title game.
I mean, yeah, they stumbled into
that opportunity. They were a field goal. Yeah, I mean,
but before that, Georgia game, I think everybody was feeling pretty sour on. We were sitting here talking just like everybody else was on whether or not Ryan Day was on his way out at Ohio State with that loss to Michigan. So I mean, I like Stroud. I like the size. I like the projectability of him. I think it plays in today's league. And I think he's overlooked a little bit by the fact that Ohio State was in the national spotlight a little bit less than they have been in the years past when they've been in the college football playoff and been one of those national title contenders in the Big Ten championship game and things like that.
Yeah. Let's see. We're asking the question, who's the better pro prospect? There's a couple funny. Andre just says Will Levis. Jay says draft Stetson Bennett if you trade or cut Ryan Tannehill. At some point this draft season, I do have a draft strategy that has been used once before that I think Stetson Bennett fits into, but that's not for today. So Troy Anderson says he goes with Bryce Young. Josh and William, are CJ Stroud guys. Ronnie goes on with Stroud. Mr. Jones says neither. That's not the question. Mikey says he's higher on CJ. Steven says CJ. Eddie says CJ Stroud. Connor says Young. Valentino says Stroud. John says Stroud by miles. Scott says, I don't like Ohio State quarterbacks, but I'd take Stroud over Bryce Young. Mr. Jones says Bryce Young. Billy Jones says Stroud because of the size thing. Jay says Stroud. Caleb says Stroud. Not CJ Fraud, says Mr. Jones. Devin says Stroud, but I wouldn't want either on his team. Stroud because durability from Sean. Stroud is straight trash from Matt. Bryce Stroud, the combo is a good pick. Orlando says Stroud. He's big, tall, and accurate. Also played big-time football. Jared says Young. When's the last time a quarterback from Ohio State was worth anything? When's the last time a quarterback from Alabama was worth anything?
I would also say Justin Fields.
When's the last time a quarterback drafted
Justin Fields is pretty dang good. Like, say, just I don't know.
The Alabama Crimson Tide had to retroactively go claim Jalen Hurts for an Alabama quarterback to win a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, Tua might do it eventually if he ever plays football again.
Yeah. But again, the point is, we talked about, Charles Woodson won the Heisman before you were born. Yeah. Before Jalen Hurts won an NFL playoff game as an Alabama quarterback. It was before I was born when that was in before then. So it's been a long time both of these programs have not done a good job of producing NFL quarterbacks. Sam, my answer is,
never mind. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do what you would do it. I'm not going to do it.
What? Do it.
I was going to call.
No, do it. No, you brought it up. Sam, you've already done it. I don't know what it is, but you've already done it. So go ahead.
Well, I mean, jury's out. Fields isn't great. Fields laughing emoji. Fields is not good. Fields about to get traded. I mean, you didn't watch the games. You didn't watch the games. So, I mean, he had the worst offensive line in football. His number one wide receiver was, Dante Pettis. So, you didn't watch the games.
You don't like Mooney? You're not a big Mooney guy?
Mooney was hurt the whole second half of the year, and I like Darnell Mooney, but he didn't play. Neither did Chase Claypool. You just say you didn't watch the games. That's fine with me. Justin Fields almost broke an all-time record for rushing yards by a quarterback, which is valuable. Whatever. And
look, he did enough to get the first overall pick.
And no, Justin Fields is not going to be traded. That's a whole different thing. The Bears are not trading Justin Fields.
Sam, who had a worse offensive line? The team you grew up cheering for, the team you covered this past year?
They were. That's tough. Probably. It's very hard to tell because I think Fields' mobility masked a lot of the Bears' issues on offensive line in a way that Ryan Tannehill was not able to.
Because he was hurt.
Because he was hurt. And when he was in the game, he's not very mobile. And probably the Titans had the worst offensive line.
Yeah.
Maybe. Probably. It's close, though. They're both horrendous, and they both need help. So.
For sure. And then somebody came back as I was going through the Jalen Hurts Alabama quarterback thing. A great joke. It's very well played. Coming in that Joe Burrow is
Ohio State quarterback.
Joe Burrow's an Ohio State quarterback.
No, I gotta say this. I actually believe this too. I put absolutely no stock into the college a guy comes from. It really doesn't hold much weight to me because like these prospects are different prospects. And just because so-and-so Cardale Jones and Dwayne Haskins didn't work out of Ohio State doesn't mean Justin Fields isn't going to be good. Doesn't mean CJ Stroud's not going to be good. It doesn't mean the next guy, which I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
and I'll just pull up my list of Heisman Trophy winners. I mean, it just goes back. It's more than just Cardale Jones and Dwayne Haskins. You go back to Troy Smith. You go back to JT Barrett. I mean, Ohio State has not done much at all in the last.
You can make that argument for any quarterback ever until they have a guy, right? It's like, what has there ever been a Wyoming quarterback have success in the league? When was the last time there was an amazing Texas Tech quarterback like Patrick Mahomes?
I think the difference is Ohio State is Duke basketball, right? Ohio State is the blue blood. And Wyoming and Texas Tech are not.
Yeah, but they're not necessarily a blue blood for quarterbacks.
They're a blue blood. They're of a college football program. The Ohio State, Alabama are two of the
before Justin Fields and Dwayne Haskins. Who was the most recent Ohio State quarterback to go in the first round?
Do you know the answer?
No. But I think the fact that we can't think of it tells you that they're a successful program because of their wide receivers, because of their defense, because of their running game and all the guys they produce there. But they've never claimed or like had these high-end quarterback prospects in the past.
No, they haven't.
Who was the last? Like you have Mac Jones, you have Tua. None of these other Alabama quarterbacks that won national championships with them were pro prospects. So like that's why I don't put a lot of stock into it. For me personally, like these guys being good is different than the style of the program in 06 or 08 or 2012. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, again, what's the job of the college coach? Is the job of the college coach to win national championships, or is the job of college coach to create NFL quarterback prospects? It's to win national championships. And that's where that comes into play here, is that there's a lot of different ways to win college football titles. And most of them don't involve creating NFL quarterback prospects. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but
yeah,
it is a long time thing though.
Here's an interesting one from Jason. Would I rather have CJ Stroud or Justin Fields? I'd rather have Justin Fields. I think he's better than anybody in this draft class. I think most front offices would agree. I think if you gave a front office the choice of Bryce Young or Justin Fields, seeing what they've seen from Justin Fields, they would do it. And if you don't want to buy it, listen to the players. Listen to the players. Any player that's played against Justin Fields is like, that guy's generational. Like, yeah, he's a different speed. He's a different level than a quarterback that I face. So listen to the guys on the field. I'd rather have Fields than Stroud. And I think he was better at Ohio State too. Fields was than Stroud was. So I don't think that's much of a debate.
For this year, I think I like Bryce Young more than CJ Stroud. And I've talked a lot about how I am aware of the Bryce Young size issues, but I still think I like the ability of Bryce Young as a passer of the football to throw off of multiple platforms, buy time to keep his eyes down the field, to create plays with his arms. I've seen him do some incredible things. And so I go with Bryce Young over Stroud. And also I saw somebody comment that Bryce Young is only good because he had 5-star players around him. I mean, who can name Alabama's best receiver this year?
Who is Joe Burrow throwing to at LSU?
Oh yeah. I mean, 2 studs in Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but Bryce Young, like the year before, he had a couple pretty good guys in Jamison Williams. And then, who was it that went to John Mechie, went to the Texans and then had cancer this past year. But I do think Bryce Young, like, you don't even know who his top receivers were. Like Brooks, the Keon Brooks guy. I mean, he's not anything to go home about. And so I think I like Bryce Young more at this point.
Yeah, I do think there is something to be said about the weapons, not necessarily as like an indictment on Bryce Young, but I think, and Big Ten Jeff pointed this out earlier, like, I think it's a credit to CJ Stroud when you look at the guy that he was throwing to as his number one a year ago, and Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't play this season.
Yeah, but he had Garrett Wilson, who won NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Well, I'm talking this year, this collegiate year.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the year before.
But he had no Chris Olave. He had no Garrett Wilson. He had no Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. is incredible, and that's what they do. That's what they do at Ohio State. But, I mean, there is a credit to him in that sense that Marvin Harrison was hurt for some of the year, too. And in that college football playoff game, part of that game, you know, he's working without him. So, I mean, big credit to him for adapting to a completely new set of weapons, not having your main guy out there all the time and still performing the way that he did. I think it's another testament to him. As somebody who you just said you'd prefer Bryce Young, are you concerned about the size?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am. I don't love either of these guys. I don't. I think I've already been on record that I don't think the Titans should move up or think about moving up from 11 to wherever to get either. I don't think it's worth the capital to take to move that. So yeah, I'm not somebody who's, obsessed or consumed by what the top quarterbacks are in this draft. I'd rather wait until 2024 if you need a quarterback, but that's a gamble in itself as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, the size of Bryce Young, interesting because we've seen it work out. I mean, like Russell Wilson, regardless of what he did this past year, he's going to wind up in Canton, and he is a small quarterback and that was the ding on him when he came out of Wisconsin. Kyler Murray was the first overall pick. It hasn't worked out with the knee and with other stuff. He has flashed some good signs in the past, but for the most part, I think the biggest thing that I mentioned earlier is the ability to stay healthy. Like when you're that small, you're a lot more prone to injury in a way that these other guys, like listen to those quarterbacks I named earlier that I compare the CJ Stroud size and skill set to. Mahomes, Lawrence, Allen, Fields, these are bigger guys, and none of them have really dealt with many injuries before because they can take hits. They can absorb hits, even as a guy like Fields or Josh Allen, who are mobile and rely on their legs and take a lot of hits. They can absorb them.
And Mahomes, we know, was dealing with the ankle in the Super Bowl, but also Mahomes had the kneecap injury that happened a couple of years ago as well. But, look, quarterbacks are going to get hurt because they're just flat out targets standing back there to take shots on. So we all know that. But yeah, I do think Bryce Young's size overall is a concern. All right, Sam, let's go ahead and flip this to Ain't That Good News. You said you've got some good news.
I have some really good news.
I'm excited to hear about Sam's good news, but here's some good news. Wilson County Hyundai can help you find the new ride in 2023. The Hyundai brand is on the tip top when it comes to technology. It has car technology does continue to improve. Hyundai's always right there with the top of technology, and Wilson County Hyundai's got you covered because Payne Bone and his crew does a phenomenal job when it comes to helping you out and finding you the right car for your situation and your financial situation that goes along with that. They've got great vehicles there in Lebanon. It's also, like I said, in Lebanon, which means you get to avoid that downtown price, that downtown tax, because you go out to Lebanon and find a great deal with Payne Bone and his team at Wilson County Hyundai.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before with BetMGM. Sign up using the code ATOZ Sports and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlay selection features, player props, live betting options, daily boosted odds, a lot more specials, much more. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every game, every play, every snap, every shot, it all means so much more. So use that code ATOZ Sports. Sign up with the king of sports books. Find out why we love BetMGM so much, and find out why I've got some good news on this Friday. BetMGM.com and the BetMGM app.
All right, time for good news. right, Sam, ain't that good news? Every Friday we share our good news with everybody. So, Sam, what is your good news since you've been talking about it since the 12-minute mark? You've been teasing this good news for 50 plus minutes at this point.
All right. Well, I'll start by saying bad news. Which I know we're not supposed to do, but good. It's like, do you want the good news or the bad news first? Bad news is I'm tired this morning because I was up late last night.
Okay.
The good news.
I'm also your employer, right?
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Because I was up late alongside my fellow employer, Zach Bingham, because of some good news. Zach and I have been scheming recently, getting involved in some, we'll say, high stakes sports wagers recently between the two of us. And last night we had a substantial bet. I'll leave it at that. A substantial bet on the Gonzaga Bulldogs -8.5, and it started at 10 p.m. Central Time. So we were in for quite the night. Good news is the Zags let us go to bed a little bit early because they were up by 40 at halftime.
Holy crap! And it was -8.5.
-8.5. We you
don't have to say how much you put on it.
No, I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was a good night for Zach and I. It was an accumulation of a lot of efforts from him and I to find this pick and feel good about this pick.
Okay.
And shout out to BetMGM. We love BetMGM. We love the Gonzaga Bulldogs this Friday morning. So
all right.
Go Zags. And
damn. You guys are doing this, and I was sitting here watching the T-Wolves blow a 20-point third quarter lead and blow my parlay.
Yeah, we were trying to be as we texted each other at halftime. I sent Zach the Kobe Bryant the gif of job not finished. Job's finished. Don't think so. We got 20 more minutes. I didn't want to have a T-Wolves situation. No, but they took care of business. They won by 50 or something like that. It was quite the impressive performance for the Bulldogs. So
absolutely,
very, very happy with how last night went.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'll get the rest of the story off the air for that. Ain't that good news here live on the show? Good news from all of you guys. Robert says, I didn't know Sam was old enough to bet legally. Yeah, Sam's over 21. Sam's over 21.
That's tough.
Stephen King says, good news, the Titans most likely won't get a quarterback in this draft. Jeff says, good news, he's got his Tron roller coaster annual pass holder preview. D23 Tron preview set for March. I have no idea what that means, but I like roller coasters. It's been a while since I've been on a roller coaster. But yeah, that sounds great. Danny says, good news, work is going smoothly enough for him to comment on the A to Z live chat today. Hey, Danny, welcome in. Glad you get to double dip and multitask there for your employer. So good news, Mr. Jones says Tennessee beat Alabama again, and they were number 1. And that was a big deal for Tennessee.
How are you feeling about Tennessee? But I don't know if you're a big college basketball guy. You know I am, and I dial in. But I'm curious to get a pulse of a big Tennessee guy on where we're at with the Vols this year, because they are obviously on a I
have a weird relationship with Tennessee basketball because I get more frustrated when I watch Tennessee basketball than I do when I watch Tennessee football. And this isn't just a this year thing. This is like a me thing.
College basketball not going well for like your team is maybe the most frustrating thing to watch in all of sports.
SEC basketball refs are the bane of my existence. But Tennessee basketball, and college basketball in general, you're right. Like there's just so many careless mistakes that don't make sense to me. And I played basketball for a lot of my life. I played high school basketball. I played a lot of pickup before and after, all that stuff too. And so I like basketball to be played a certain way, and it needs to be fundamentally sound and not do stupid stuff. I feel like Mike Vrabel watching college basketball. Don't do dumb stuff to hurt the team.
Yeah,
it drives me crazy. And so Sam,
that is the negative of college basketball. That's the beauty of it for me. That's why I like it. I have no interest in watching these NBA dudes. I do like the talent level at the NBA, but the soft foul calls and like shooting 25 to 30 free throws a game wears on me. I love a nice gritty 52-49 college basketball game. That it's ugly, and it's about how you scheme up stuff. Like that's really fun to watch, but it can be horrific to watch if you're a team not going well, like Loyola Marymount last night. But
right. So I have a rule for myself when it comes to Tennessee basketball. I don't watch it until at least January. I don't watch it consistently until February. And then I pick and choose my spots. And I've learned that if it's not going well, then I turn it off. And I don't allow myself to get too frustrated by it. So what happened is the Alabama game, I bet Bama plus 3.5. I also took Grace Remington's pick of the under 148, and that crushed because it was such a lower scoring game than that. But I didn't know what the score was until halftime, and I knew my under was in a good spot, and I didn't check back until the under 4 timeout. And then I watched because I felt good about that. But I didn't watch the Missouri-Tennessee game Saturday until Tennessee had a 6-point lead with 2 minutes left, and they blew that. And so, like, I saw that happen right in front of my eyes, and I'm like, son of a, you know what? Like, and so I try to keep my distances with Tennessee basketball, but it was a big win. And also my good news is that every February, my wife and I have a couples massage, and I didn't know this, but it worked out perfectly. We scheduled our couples massage at noon tomorrow, which is the exact time that Kentucky-Tennessee's tip off. So I'm going to be as relaxed as I can possibly be for 90 minutes getting a massage while Tennessee and Kentucky in Rupp Arena would stress others out. And then
you're gonna walk out of your massage and see the score and immediately just like get the wrinkles in your forehead. Getting all.
Not gonna check it until I get home and not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna enjoy all of that and that's it. So that's my good news is that I don't have to sweat Tennessee, Kentucky whatsoever, and I get to just let it happen.
Hey, listen, I feel you. I mean, Illinois has been just yanking my heart out, then putting it back in again on a constant cycle. They'll go and they'll beat one of the best teams in the country, and I'll be like, oh, the team's starting to find their groove a little bit. And then they lose to Penn State by 12 or lose to whoever that they've got no business losing to, and it is a pull your hair out type of night. And I feel sometimes it can be best to just separate yourself a little bit and say, you know, you got to win me over. You got to win me back. So,
and I will say this, Nick, I'm pumped about the NCAA tournament. I'm excited about the SEC tournament because the SEC tournament's coming up in a few weeks from now in Nashville. And Sam, I don't know if you've ever experienced an SEC tournament in Nashville, but it's a lot of fun.
I have not.
So I'm going to try to find my way in Bridgestone.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of fun. Those conference tournaments, I've been to a conference tournament before. I went to the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament back in 2018, I believe it was, to support my Bradley Braves. Hey, Bradley's got a good team this year. Watch out for the Braves. But yeah, I mean, conference tournaments are fun. College basketball, if you're a big college basketball fan like me too, you know, the tournament kind of starts now. They're kind of like there are so many games going on. I look at another Chicagoland team, bit of a rival of my Fighting Illini, but the Northwestern Wildcats have rattled off wins in Bloomington, in West Lafayette. They beat some of the top teams, and for a bubble team, like those are the wins that it's like it's basically your playing game. It's like, oh, you clinched a bid with that win. You check them off, and those games are going on in the SEC, the Big Ten, all the way across the country right now. So I love college basketball season.
I do too. It just Tennessee stresses me out, so I try to just keep that at bay. All right, guys. Hope you enjoy a great weekend. Make sure you like the show before you go on Facebook and YouTube. Also subscribe to our YouTube channels. Like us and follow us on Facebook. We greatly appreciate that. And we'll see you guys after a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. Enjoy it. Talk to you later. Appreciate it as always.